Hello, I'm David Broadhead and welcome once more to the Business Programme here on Kirklees Local TV. In today's commercial world, we are surrounded by brands, which in the modern context is the way organisations suggest the values and promises that we as consumers might perceive and buy into, and ideally defines the strategic personality of a product or a company. Are you iPhone or Samsung, Mac or Windows, Jaguar or BMW, M&S or Aldi, or both? The list goes on. And in a world where it's often so difficult to differentiate between companies, products and services, it's often just brand perception that allows us to make choices. But is there such a thing as personal branding? And if so, what does it involve? Well, to answer these questions, we have today's guest, Deborah Ogden, who is a highly experienced and well-renowned expert in this aspect of branding. Deborah, thank you for agreeing to share your expertise with us today.
Thank you.
Can I start by asking you, what is personal branding and how do you work with your clients on their personal brand?
Well, you've just talked about some big brands from a business point of view. Branding for the person isn't that far removed. So the whole ethos behind personal branding is that people buy people. And in this highly commercial world at the moment, it's a great way, having a strong personal brand is a great way to stand out from your competitors and give you a standout position. So your personal brand, people don't realise that they have a personal brand, whether they realise it or not. Jeff Bezos of Amazon famously says, your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So it's knowing what people say about you. What do people expect when you walk in, when they're going to do business with you? It's the promise that comes with working with David Broadhead or with Deborah Ogden or whoever that may be. And I work with many different people. So I work with businesses. I go in and work with their staff in a workshop format because people invest a lot in their business brand, but they forget that actually it's the behaviours of their staff that make a huge difference. And then I coach individuals as well, so people that perhaps want to build their reputation and want to be seen as an expert and a thought leader in their field.
So in a way that's why it has become so popular, isn't it? And if anything, it is essential in today's business world. What's a typical client look like? Who typically do you work with?
Oh, across the board. I work a lot in professional services because it's the changes in professional services over the last few years, it's become much more commercial. People don't have an accountant or a solicitor for life anymore. And so these people are having to go out and network and look at business development. And, you know, how do you choose a service like that? Yeah. And it goes back to this people by people. So it's a given that you're good at your job. It's, you know, if you want a solicitor, then you would hope that they're qualified and good at what they do. So it's about finding that way of making yourself stand out so that people engage with you and they want to buy you over the next person.
Presumably you didn't leave school with the express intent of becoming a personal branding expert and consultant. So what's your personal journey been and what skills and expertise do you think you've developed along the way that allow you to work so successfully with so many varied clients?
Well, I don't think there was such a phrase as personal branding when I left school. But I left school and set off being a lawyer and studied law and qualified as a solicitor and realised quite quickly it wasn't for me. But actually all that training, people say, gosh, all that training, but it stands me in brilliant stead now because a lot of my market are professional services, so I have an understanding of the profession, but also the discipline of having to stand up in court, be able to present in court and be able to communicate well. I then went on, I discovered a love of marketing and communications and spent many years as media manager at Old Trafford Cricket Ground, so working with people like Freddie Flintoff and Jimmy Anderson, Neil Fairbrother, working, you know, the other side of the camera, getting them trained up for their media training, but also for sponsorship opportunities, because if you think about it from a sponsorship point of view, people want a good personal brand to recommend, to represent their own brand. So I always say to people when I'm working with them on their personal brand, the journey that they've taken is what gets them where they are, and that's what creates their personal brand.
I suppose there might be some cynics out there that might say that only your work should speak for yourself and that personal branding isn't authentic, or in other words, it's fake. Maybe it's a bit like charisma, which can be highly deceptive.
Absolutely, and a lot of people will, and it's something that I tackle head on. For me, your personal brand is about being authentic, because we all spot a fake. I don't want to do business or work with somebody that I don't trust. So authenticity is absolutely key. So when I'm working with people, I'm looking at their values, their beliefs, that their true identity. And it's when you recognise that and have real confidence in your true identity that you're able to stand up there and connect with people. We can be very British and we don't blow our own trumpets, but quite often the frustrating thing for me is people will come to me after they've not got the promotion that they want. And the reason is that they've carried on with their head down and done a great job, but nobody knows about it. So it's about letting people know what you're doing and get that message out there.
So once you've got a personal brand, is it job done, or do you need to keep working on it?
Absolutely, because we're changing as people, so that authenticity adapts. But I would always say that your values tend to stay true, your core values tend to stay true throughout your life. But depending on your role, depending on your circumstances, then your personal brand might change, but subtly. It's a bit like a dial. You may dial it up, you may dial it down, depending on the circumstances. So if you're presenting on a stage, I do a lot of presentations, and when I'm presenting, then I really dial up my brand, because that's how you're making the impact. But then when I'm coaching with somebody, then you tone it down a little bit. So it isn't job done, because you have to continually work on it, because as we said, it's people's experience of you. So the key thing is consistency. So every time somebody meets you, they want to get the personal brand that we're expecting.
Yeah. But finally, on a personal note, when not working, how do you relax and unwind? Who's the real Deborah Ogden?
Well, I'd like to say that the real Deborah Ogden is what people get consistently.
Exactly.
But I have a 10-year-old son, and huge, like yourself, huge Huddersfield Town fan, so have my season ticket there and can look forward to Premier League football again next year. So I spend a lot of time watching football professionally, but my son plays football and cricket, so spend a lot of time driving him around the cricket grounds of Kirklees and surrounds.
Well, that's all for this week. Once more, I'd like to thank Deborah Ogden for sharing her thoughts and experience with us, and I look forward to seeing you next time here on the Business Programme on Kirklees Local TV. Goodbye.